Polymers. Polymers are molecules formed by the joining of monomers. Polymers are large molecules formed by single comparable repeating units. Poly refers to many or multi, implying that a polymer is made up of numerous monomers. So, polymers molecules can be found everywhere, like any living organism cell, such as plants, animals, insects, and etc. The example of polymers includes glycogen, DNA, and insulin. Monomers. Monomers are single individual units because the prefix mono signifies one or single. This may consist of many molecules or just one. It is useful to keep in mind that monomers are straightforward molecules and the smallest unit of repetition in polymers. This can be seen to everywhere as well, but in direct products such as glucose, because glucose is sugar. The example of monomers includes glucose, amino acids, and nucleotides.
The hydration synthesis. The hydration synthesis is the creation of larger molecules from smaller monomers, where a water molecule is released. This can be used in the creation of synthetic polymers, such as polyethylene, terephthalate, or the creation of large biological molecules such as carbohydrate polymers and triglycerides. This is where the two molecules condense together and water is formed as byproduct. Two smaller molecules are joined covalently because the OH from one molecule and the H from another is removed, and they join together to form H2O or water. For example, you have two monomers. When these two molecules bind to create a dimer, one monomer loses a hydroxyl or OH, and the other monomer loses an H, which then joins together to form water.
Hydrolysis. Hydrolysis implies water reaction. It is a chemical mechanism in which by adding a molecule of water, a molecule is broken into two pieces, as a salt with a weak acid or weak base, or both, is dissolved in water. The most common hydrolysis happens. Hydrolysis is derived from Greek word hydro, meaning water, and lysis, which translates from the word break. Hydrolysis is a water-based process na nagbe-break ng molecule into more substances. Specific molecule lang yung nag-undergo na molecule, which is yung large molecules, yung nag-occur ng break into more substance. Ito yung tinatawag na hydrolysis, which is ito yung mga acid, protein, and carbohydrates. Example, water and salt. Pag na-dissolve ni water sa salt, meaning nag-undergo siya ng hydrolysis. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates provide the body with glucose, which is converted to energy used to support bodily functions and physical activity. Carbohydrates is biomolecule, meaning nakukuha ito sa mga living organisms and cell, which is mga nahanap sa plants and animals na nagpo-produce ng glucose. And glucose is the main source of energy. Instance, yung carbohydrates yung nagbibigay ng energy in our body.
So now, we're going to differentiate the following terms. Since carbohydrates is a sugar molecule and sugar mostly make up carbohydrates, the three major types of carbohydrates includes monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. So ano nga ba yung pagkakaiba-iba nilang tatlo? And these definitions ay parang pinaka-summarized na. So first is monosaccharides. Monosaccharides are the simplest form of carbohydrates and are composed of single molecule or subunit. Disaccharides. The disaccharides are composed of two monosaccharides linked together, and polysaccharides are composed of three or more monosaccharides linked together. So sa madaling salita, ang monosaccharides ay isang sugar unit ng carbohydrates. Let's say sa process ng condensation, kapag ang isang monosaccharides at isa pang monosaccharides ay nag-combine together, dun na siya tinatawag na disaccharides because it composed of 2 monosaccharides. And kapag nadagdagan pa siya ng isa or more, dun na siya tinatawag na polysaccharide since it is composed of 3 or more monosaccharides. So, ang monosaccharides ay water-soluble. It means natutunaw siya sa tubig. So, it reduces sugars. And one of the example of monosaccharides is glucose. Next is, since disaccharides are composed of 2 monosaccharides, therefore, it is composed of 2 chemical rings. Yung dalawang chemical rings na to is reducing and non-reducing sugar. Diba? So, therefore, hindi lahat ng disaccharides are capable of reducing sugars. There are some reducing sugars and there are some not. And one of the example of disaccharides is lactose, which composed of galactose and glucose. So, ang lactose ay composed of dalawang single unit. So, kapag it is composed of 2 monosaccharides or it is composed of 2 single units, doon na siya tinatawag na disaccharides. And lastly, since polysaccharides composed of 3 or more monosaccharides, it composed of numerous chemical rings. Polysaccharides are insoluble in water. So it means hindi na siya natutunaw sa tubig. And because of its complex structure, kasi nga napakadami niya ng chemical rings, it became non-reducing sugar. And one of the example of polysaccharides is starch.
Now that we know the differences of 3 major types of carbohydrates, let's diverse the importance of monosaccharides, disaccharides, and polysaccharides. Let's start from monosaccharides. This is what we call simple sugar, glucose, mannose, and fructose. Monosaccharides are loaded with energy through photosynthesis, a conversion of carbon dioxide and water to oxygen and sugars. For instance, they are essential to life as they use to build blocks of monosaccharides into any living things. Disaccharides are carbohydrate sugars that are found by the combinations of 2 monosaccharides. As we can see here, sucrose is formed by joining of 2 monosaccharides, glucose and fructose. As we find this in the food we contain on our bodies, it breaks into 2 down to simple sugars, monosaccharides, for absorptions in small intestine. Polysaccharides, a large carbohydrates, can be found in plants, animals, and microorganisms, and that is the reason why is it called poly, which means many, because it can be found everywhere. These are 3 types of polysaccharides: starch, cellulose, and glycogen. For starch, plants to store energy. Cellulose is essential for plants to store a structural organization. And glycogen contains glucose as the main source of energy, meaning to say they are the best important functions.